South Marysburgh Slippers by Sam Lamb. A really nice, straightforward to knit, enjoyable knitting house shoe stroke travel slipper stroke slipper sock. Not much variation needed for the basic slipper, but the option to alter the cuff from the very tailored to the distinctly frou-frou. I love knitting this slipper. I've never told Sam Lamb that, and I probably should, but it knits delightfully easily. The base slipper takes about 50 grams of an Aran weight. I could knit it in the car, I could knit it in the dark, very familiar with it, and then I take it in different ways around the cuff. The original pattern works very well for our UK thickness of yarn. We don't really get worsted weight, we get Aran, which is just a little bit thicker, and by going down a little tiny bit on the needle size, the original took 4.5 and I used 4, you get a nice, comfortable but firm fabric. That's slightly decreased the size of the slipper, so I've graded the pattern a tiny bit to have some larger sizes. Mostly I've worked out how to take the back of the heel up a little bit further onto the foot so that it sticks better. The way the heel turns in the pattern is gorgeous, and I haven't messed with that. You pick up stitches to knit this bit, and I never lengthen this because it would make the front too low. So if I need to lengthen the foot size, I do it here in this stretch before I do the toe decreases. I have a bunch of these cutouts of foot sizes of myself and various loved ones. This is a slipper for me, so it fits me, although I might end up giving it away, as I often do. And then you pick up stitches around the ankle. I always do that in the main colour, and all together, and I usually do a couple of rows in the main colour as well. The whole of that uses about 55 grams. It's a pity, 50 grams would be neater, but I often grab leftovers of this sort of yarn from charity shops. This one, and you'll see there's a bunch in this colour, is the leftovers of a large, those 400 gram balls of woolen acrylic, wool enriched acrylic, anything from 70-30 down to 80-20, and they're perfect for it. Basic, very tailored look I like for those of my friends and family who like a very straightforward look. It's just an I-cord bind off. The original pattern, which interestingly I have never done, calls for about 5 rows of seed stitch, what we would call moss stitch in this country. Somehow that has never quite appealed to me, so I do the basic I-cord bind off a lot, and that makes a really straightforward travel slipper. Sometimes the I-cord can be in a contrast colour, that looks great. The next one I do often is with a basic 1x1 rib. I usually decrease 1 stitch as the start to get the numbers right, so it's easy for knitting in the round. You can do more and have a turn down cuff, but I'm generally looking for a fairly simple lightweight thing. Again, people can put into their case, or I can stick in a basket by the door for visitors as they come in. And then if you've got fancy yarns, they really set the slipper off. This one happens to be a really close match. Isn't that lovely? But I have a basket full of these. I'm a sucker for them when I see them in charity shops, and you need very little. I do about 10 rows of a knit one, purl one rib. I always do it in rib because this sort of fancy yarn has no stretch in it at all, and you wouldn't be able to get it off your foot going there. I have a lot of these in variable colours, so I can always find a colour that goes with the base shoe, body, whatever you call it. These are really nice slippers. You start with straight needles. For the first bit you use circulars, very straightforward, and you graft the toe. So it's all standard techniques that once you've knitted the sock once, you can memorise and just do them in your sleep. Really commend that slipper.